Parents didn't want to put me in school. They wanted me to learn the drums because that's what they needed at the church. My sister went to professional lessons, and I said, I really like the piano. So I taught myself with garage sale stickers, and I put what every single chord was on there, and I taught myself with one hand. And then after I taught myself with one hand, then I went into two hands. And I think somehow that magically tuned my voice because they were like, wow, now you can sing. No, I'm not going to sing for you guys. But then they put me to be the worship leader at the church. And so I was 12 years old leading worship. And I was very nervous. No. And maybe later at the after party, I'll give you a preview after some tequila. But I used to be nervous, and I would just look down at the piano because then you have to sing and play the piano at the same time, which is very challenging. So I'm looking down at the piano, and that's kind of how I would, I guess, be in front of people, is by looking at the piano and not necessarily being in front of people speaking. And then fast forward to UWM, I met Matt Ishbia, and I was the guy behind Matt Ishbia. I got to make sure his presentations were good. I used to travel on the road with him and make sure that everything worked out good. We used to do mix and mingles together. That man taught me how to work hard. My dad taught me first, but then he taught me how to pass that baton and take it to the next level. And one of the things that we would do was we created mix and mingles, and we would, he's crazy. He would fly out and say, in less than 24 hours notice, he would say, Rogelio, I want to go to Utah, and I want to meet with 40 originators. So invite 40 originators. They didn't know who we were at the time. They didn't know who Matt Ishbia was. And I had to somehow convince them to all come to this mix and mingle. So then not only did I have to do that, but then I had to invite a top 10 dinner and invite them out to dinner afterwards. And then after that, he wanted a private meeting with 3 originators. And all of that in a course of 24 hours to make sure that it went flawlessly. And then me, because I go above and beyond, we didn't have security back then, and I'm not a security guard, but I would make sure that we had an escape route, just in case there was a broker that was crazy that was asking for better pricing, or whatever the case, Chuck, whatever the case may be. And that's what we would do. I would coordinate with his favorite restaurant was Ocean Prime, so I would always try to do it at Ocean Prime. And no one gave me approval to do this. I wasn't in marketing. I would just take his credit card, and I just said yes. The best thing that ever happened to me was saying yes every single time in this building. And I didn't care what my title was. I didn't care what my roles or my responsibilities were. I just said yes. And I would be the one to say, you know what, that's going to make an impact. Let me go find a way to make it sure that it's cost effective and that it benefits originators in the community. And I would go out and do it. So long story short, I'm awkward, but I'm an example to all of you that go outside of the comfort zone and do what makes you uncomfortable. So leading into it, home, in the intro, I thanked you guys all for coming out. And home is something that I didn't know it was a dream of mine until I saw this logo. And then everything kind of started to come together, and it was that aha moment for me of understanding why God placed my family. First I was like, why am I Mexican and German, born in Canada, lived in the United States my whole life, and then I'm in mortgages? Like they don't make sense. You can't sing a loan estimate or a CD. Everyone would turn that off. So that it was very confusing to me. And then when I found the greater impact of helping the Hispanic community, that's when I said, okay, now I understand why God placed me with the family that I am and did all the things that he did. So I'm just very, very grateful for this opportunity, and to get the nerves off. I know it's very untraditional to do this, but I'm just going to say a very quick prayer. I'm not a religious person, but I do believe in having a relationship with God. And so just very quickly, I just want to say, God, thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you so much for picking me, little tiny me, 32-year-old Rogelito that didn't know or have a purpose to what it is that you were doing, but somehow you aligned me with all of the right people and connected me to create this special movement. I thank you for every single Hispanic in this country. We are going to review some slides and some presentations that show how much of an impact they make in this economy and in this country. And I just thank you so much for my parents. I thank you so much for all the people in this room. I thank you for their families and for their ancestors that have been fighting for our people and our community for ages. And I thank you so much for this opportunity. I ask that you flow through me, that you take all of my nerves, all of my anxiety away, and that you give me the right words to say, not only in this room, but also when I'm meeting with other lenders fighting for ITIN loans, but also when I'm meeting with other lenders fighting for Spanish documents, and also when I'm fighting for better interest rates that help our consumers so that everyone can achieve that dream of owning a home. I thank you so much, and I humbly, humbly, humbly accept the responsibility that you put upon my heart. In Jesus' name, amen. Now that we got, thank you. Now that we got that out of the way, now let's go. I want to make this conversational. Thank you so much, Jim. You really made this training more of a conversation instead of a training, and I don't want this presentation to feel like I'm speaking at you or just shouting out facts. I want this to be a conversation and a dialogue for all of us. And help yourself by helping others. When I shared Nicole, when I brought her on board to the team, and I explained everything that I wanted to do, and she goes, okay, if I hear you correctly, you're trying to help yourself in the Hispanic community by helping others in the Hispanic community. And I'm like, I don't follow. That doesn't, okay, yeah, we're a nonprofit, but no, we're in mortgages. And she goes, well, let me put it to you this way. You're trying to get Spanish documents so that helps other people, but that's also going to help the originators. So that's your message to originators, is help yourself, educate yourself, so that then you can go and help others in the community. And I said, okay. And then she goes, and then also on the flip side, you're trying to get lenders to change how they view things, how they view risk portfolios, because it's also going to benefit them because they'll get more volume, they'll get more loans, it'll be better for them. So your message to everybody, to originators, to real estate agents, to lenders, to banks, institutions, and politicians is help yourself by helping others. And that's something that I am identifying within Home, and I hope to take to the next level. And if I may share a story about me, sorry I get a little preachy, so if I get preachy, feel free to say, hey, cut it out. One thing about me, I knew that I wanted to give back to my family. My dad, he was Mexican and German. He was born in Chihuahua, Mexico. He migrated to Windsor, Ontario when he was 14 years old. So he had the privilege of, in Mexico, he only had a 6th grade education, but he had the privilege of going to Canada where he could expand his knowledge base. And there it was where he built houses, and he was a baker and did multiple jobs, and then he was also an elder in our family church. He learned about interest rates, and he bought a home that was, I was too young to remember this, but it was the home that I grew up in, and it was one story, but then while my family was living there, he actually built that second story and added it on. My mom was sharing, she was pregnant with me, and she would look up and see the stars, and she was like, what did I get myself into? Why did I fall in love with his green eyes? This guy is crazy. And that's kind of where everything started, but because of his impact in our home and always putting us first, I knew that I wanted to give back in a different way. And then fast forward, we moved to the United States. I watched this man build our house brick by brick. The only thing that he paid someone to do, because he's Mexican and they do that, is to dig the basement. Everything else, the plumbing, the electricity, he designed that house. He sketched every single closet. He did everything. And if you visit that home in Dearborn Heights, which we were the only Hispanics that were in there because we also do that. We buy in good neighborhoods. I'll touch on that set later. But he built this home with French drains so that it would never flood. He double insulated the attic so that we were never cold. He was always forward thinking in some of the things that he did. And that was my inspiration for not only Home, but giving back to the Hispanic community. And I knew early on in my career, I started as an originator, and I did that for 2 years. And then I saw UWM, and I came over. I thought we were a Sam's Club or a Costco, and I stumbled upon it by accident. And I knew that I had to dedicate myself to my career. So for 3 years, although I love my family, I put Matt Ishbia first before my family. And I worked 60, 80-hour days. or 80-hour weeks. And I did things that were very, very difficult. I didn't share with my family all of the things that I did. I did things that I never imagined myself humanly doing that weren't in my job or my job description. But my family mattered to me so much that I was willing to do whatever we needed to do to get our family ahead. And because I gave my career the main objective, I was then able to go back to my family 3 years later, and I bought my mom a Mercedes. And then I made sure that my family's house was paid off. And then I upgraded my mom's Mercedes. And now my nephew's driving her old Mercedes. And I say that to say that sometimes you have to help yourself before you can go and help other people. And that's really hard for the Hispanic community. And a lot of times, other people that aren't Hispanic or different minority groups, they're like, I don't understand. What's the struggle? Like, yeah, there's the education. Yeah, there's the language barrier. But like, what's so different? And I think what I'm trying to articulate is what's different with our people is that we're not just worrying about ourselves. We think about our tia, we think about our tío, we think about our cousin, we think about our sister, we think about our nieces and nephews. I have 7 nieces and nephews. I became an uncle at the age of 10. I was not ready to be an uncle. I'd love to enjoy them as little babies now. But I do all of those things, and I helped myself first so that then I could go back and help them. So my message to you guys, if you don't take anything away from this presentation or anything from this, help yourself by helping others. First, get that education. Join the wholesale channel. Learn every single thing that every lender has to offer. Every down payment assistance program, every single product, every single matrix. Be that expert because our people need that help. And in tune, by helping yourself, you will be able to help others. And just like Matt Ishbia said, that impact, then success will follow, and then that money will follow. And it will be mutually beneficial to everybody. Diving into it, I want to share some of the stuff that we've been working on because it's a fairly new organization. So one of the things that we're doing is we're working on strategic partnerships. We're partnering up with not only UWM, but other lenders. My goal is every single quarter to start, because I want to commit to it, every single quarter I want to do a training similar to this with a different lender. And I want to highlight their different products, their culture, and the beautiful part about the wholesale channel. Education and empowerment is another aspect of it. I'm going to touch on some of the ideas that we're working on, and then advocacy and support. I touched on it briefly that I am also going to be the Hispanic chair for the Broker Action Coalition. But Jay Rodriguez, who spoke a little bit earlier and is going to speak again, is the co-chair in that. And he's going to help me go to Washington and meet with policymakers and change some of the things that maybe other policymakers don't understand. Like when I was sitting down with that reporter and I had to explain, first of all, who is smart, by the way, he reports on earnings for mortgage companies. He didn't know what an ITIN was. Okay. He didn't know different and he was asking me questions like, what is the difference and why is there a technology barrier and why does that credit profile look differently? And he didn't know. So our goal is to just educate everyone so we can positively make those changes. Digital outreach. Part of bringing Nicole on is to make sure that everything looks good on social media, on our website, to the presses, so that our gente look the best. Not only here in Michigan, but in all 50 states. I want us to shine like never before, and that's a very big part about home. And then fighting for bilingual services. I'm pushing for those Spanish documents, and I just need one lender to do it. As soon as one lender does it, I know that I'll have 5, 10, 20, 30, 50, all knocking at our door, trying to do the same thing for our people. And that's what I'm advocating and fighting for. So touching on a couple of things that we've launched and are going to continue to launch, we're working on a home academy, a learning management system. So that learning management system is going to be completely online. There's a lot of people that can't travel. They have family members. This LMS system is going to have all of the information from all 150 different banks and credit unions. We are also partnering up with ChatGPT and are going to make it easily accessible so you as an originator can say, what banks do ITIN loans? And it pulls up the top 5 banks that do ITIN loans with the max DTI and the different products that are associated with it. Because in tune, we want to help ourselves by helping others. So we're going to highlight all of these different lenders, not just the ones that are selling to us or bring us out to Success Track. And then we're also going to launch a career page. You'd be surprised how many people tell me, I need a Spanish processor, or I need a Spanish underwriter, or I really want a Spanish loan officer. Just this weekend, I had someone call me that they need 2 Spanish loan officers in New York. Well, this career page is going to help be that bridge so I can connect everyone that has that dream and has that goal without us necessarily having to pick up the phone. Another thing that I'm doing is expanding our national presence. So a part of identifying growth markets, in a little bit I'm going to highlight and show you some trends and some patterns, but we're also launching media campaigns, and we're boots on the ground. We're rolling up our sleeves and we're having conversations that people haven't had before. And that's all that it is we just want to have a little cafecito and discuss why it's important, why we're here, and why you should make this change or make an impact. And then we're right there and having a local presence. When we earlier this week, we went to a Mexican restaurant, and then we went to Honeybee Market, which is a local one here in Detroit. And passing through, we saw the Spanish newspapers. And I told Nicole, hey, I want all the Hispanic loan officers to be featured in these Spanish newspapers in all 50 states. That's her action, and she's going to figure out how to do it. I just tell her my dreams, and she goes and does it. But that's my vision of home and what I see. And then I'm also launching a Bad Bunny giveaway. So Bad Bunny launched his tour. I'm giving away a ticket, 4 tickets. You're going to be able to stay for 2 nights in Puerto Rico, have access to the Bad Bunny VIP experience, access to the VIP pool party, and then a part of the reason why I am doing this is for 2 things. One, I love Bad Bunny, and I personally wanted to go see him, and I told my team that partying with bro would be really cool, but they said don't market it like that. And 2, a lot of lenders don't lend in Puerto Rico, and I want to have that conversation. So by highlighting Bad Bunny's story and what he's doing and how he's so forward thinking with his culture, with the music, I want to be able to show that aspect and tie that all in, but still bring that home back to lending and why it's so important for us to have that conversation. So make sure you fill out the link. It's completely free, no strings attached. You don't have. I don't care about the information. I just want everyone to fill it out so you have an opportunity to win. Tell your friends and family too, because it's going to be fun. Now I want to touch on the elephant in the room, the tough market. So the last 2 years, I'm not naive to know that it's been challenging for a lot of originators and real estate agents. And we've all been highlighting and saying interest rates are high, inventory is low. Like there's all of this doom and gloom that's out there. And I just want to that elephant in the room, I want to say, okay, all right. In other slides of my presentation, I'm going to hit on how many homes Hispanics have bought just this last year. And that if each and every person in this room were to able to reach 1, 2, 3, 5 more Hispanic family, I'm going to call them family members because they're family, they would be able to double and triple up their business by doing it in an effective way. So a tough market, just like Matt Ishbia said, he's never paid attention to interest rates. He's so forward thinking. And going back to his story, I watched when I'm going to say their name, the MBA made fun of him. The Mortgage Bankers Association, all the CEOs from Wells Fargo, Bank of America, they made fun of him and they said, Matt, you're this young CEO in your 30s. The wholesale channel isn't really like where the money's at. You want to go and you want to invest in like retail. That's where the secret sauce is. And they made fun of him. I watched it with my own 2 eyes. So being in that room where they made fun of him, and then now he bought the Phoenix Suns. Now we're the nation's #1 lender. Let's go. Think of the impossible and be like Matt. He wasn't worried about company profitability ever. He was worried on investing in technology and making sure that the process was seamless and easier. And by the way, although the stats aren't out there and they haven't publicized this, UWM is the largest lender to the Hispanic community. They hands-on are. Why? Because brokers are the best option for the Hispanic community, because we are right there going over every single loan product. And just like Jay pointed out, we see things differently and we're able to articulate and paint that story, because that's what underwriting is, to that underwriter on why they should obtain a home. Now, another topic that I want to hit on is fear. Fear has some good and some bad to it. Let me elaborate. In doing some studying, there was the salmon was really popular. Before salmon was popular, I should say, cod was the most popular fish, and that's what they would use. And one of the main issues with cod is they were trying to figure out how to keep it fresh. So they said, let's freeze it. They would freeze it, and it still wouldn't taste fresh. So then they had a brilliant idea. Well, let's keep them in water, let's put them in tanks, and let's transport them across the United States. Although they were in that aquarium, they were technically alive. When they killed that fish and they served it up, it still didn't taste fresh. So everyone was scratching their head and they were trying to figure out, what is it that's going on? How come it doesn't taste fresh? This makes no sense. And then they introduced the catfish, which is a natural predator to the cod. They started transporting codfish with a catfish in there, and then suddenly the cod, because they had to stay in motion, because they were scared, it was fresh again. So I want to talk about fear in two contexts. Normally we talk about it in a negative way of a scary dog that's coming towards you. But in this example, this is a good context where it keeps you fresh. So my message to us as Hispanics in this industry is not to let fear paralyze us. Not to let what the media says, what policymakers are saying. There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of opinions. There's a lot of things that really don't matter. And they matter, but I say that they don't matter because in 4 years it's going to change anyways. So don't let fear paralyze you, and utilize good fear. You should be scared before your presentation. Like me. You should be scared before switching from W-2 to 1099. You should be scared from jumping to the retail channel to the wholesale channel. But you should not allow that feeling of emotion to paralyze you. And you should still go out there and make that impact. And that's my message to you guys today. Going into some statistics, which is my favorite thing to do. Here's the current Hispanic population, the current Hispanic home ownership rate, and the projection that we will double by 2050. Hispanics account for 71% of the overall population growth in the United States in 2023. Not only that, we were also 49.5% of overall household growth. That means we were the ones that were obtaining a home. And the projection is that by 2050, we are going to reach 106 million, no matter what happens. Because my favorite statistic is that 1 million Hispanics are going to turn 18 every single year for the next 20 years, and there's nothing that anyone can do about it. That's it. They were born in this country. They're here. That's it. That's done. They're like my nephew. He's 18 years old. So they're all turning 18, and that's why we have to help ourselves by helping others. We have to educate them on that home buying process, because the future is tomorrow. Now let's dive into some other stats. The U.S. Hispanic population. Something that I didn't know, although I love Celia Cruz and all of her music and what she's done. It's funny, like when you start posting things about Hispanics, suddenly all your social media changes and everything is Hispanic. So there's a lot of really great content and different things out there. And one fact that I didn't know was 12.3% of Hispanics are Afro-Latinos. They don't necessarily feel like they're Hispanic, and they don't necessarily feel like they're African. They're right in the middle. So my argument to a lot of lenders out there is we're way bigger than you even recognize, because there are so many Latin American countries that maybe they don't look like us. Hispanics come in all types of different shapes and sizes. I'm Mexican and German. My dad has green eyes and blonde hair, but he dyes it black. We really are all different types of shapes and sizes, and I want to change the stigma that Hispanics don't have to look one certain way. We are a blended community, and we are a beautiful community. Not only that, we contribute way more than we know. I didn't even know this, but 7.7% of the entire federal workforce, which is 1.26 million people, are veterans, are Hispanic or Latinx. So not only have we fought for this country, where is she? We're in the Federal Reserve. Thank you for your service, I remembered. So thank you. Not only are we helping our country, but we give. There isn't a slide on this, but there was a psychologist that looked at the Hispanic community versus non-Hispanics. And they looked at their brain patterns, and they thought it was kind of odd that Hispanics actually had more brain patterns when they were giving to their community than when they were getting something for themselves. We give, we give, we give. And just like these veterans, they need us because not every lender is created equally. And there's so many products for our veterans as well. Another myth that we hear is Hispanics aren't interested in home ownership. Well, that's a lie because in 2023, 377,000 new households were formed, and we were the main cause of that. Another myth is if you don't have a social security number, you might be shady. This is one of my favorite topics and one of the main things that I'm fighting for. When in reality, the United States gave over 100 different visa types in 2023 to 10.4 million non-immigrants. That means you are able to be in this country, but you're not able to go your traditional 3% down. That's something that I want to fight for, that I want to advocate for. And it's not just about 3% down. Why does my interest rate have to be 2 or 4% higher? That's a question, that's a conversation I want to have. Let's talk about it. And if the answer is no today, I'm okay with that. I'll come back tomorrow. And if the answer is no tomorrow, it's okay, I'll give you a break. I'll come back next week. And that's the type of positive reinforcement that we can have as a community by being those people that ask the bigger question of why. When I was younger in church, I was a pain to my parents because I would always ask the bigger picture why. And I'm like, okay, Jesus was this great guy, but like, you know, you say we're not able to drink, but if drinking is so bad, why did Jesus turn water into wine? They couldn't answer that question. And then, Mom, if, you know, we talk, I shouldn't say strippers, but if we talk about strippers and prostitutes so bad, why was he hanging out with the strippers and the tax collectors? Like, I don't understand it. I would always ask those questions. So I'm asking those questions not only to our religious institutions, because we all should be a little bit more like Jesus, but I'm also asking those questions to our lenders as well of, hey, these 10.4 million people that are able to be in this home, that have filed taxes, why do they have to put more down? And why does their interest rate have to be higher? I don't understand. Another myth that we have is Hispanics predominantly purchase real estate in low to moderate income neighborhoods. No, we don't. We don't. My dad didn't. That's not what we do. If you look at this chart, 43% purchased in middle income, which is above the AMI, and then 28% purchased way above that in the upper income areas. California is excluded because I can't afford it. Like, I don't know how you guys do it. But this is looking at the entire census tract in all of the United States of what we do. Another myth that we have is language barriers prevent engagement throughout the mortgage process. I'm there to say no, it doesn't. Not when you're with a broker that takes the time to read these loan documents. Although recently, I don't know if it's true or not, but our friend Racia up at the front, she says she's not able to translate LEs and CDs and different things to her client at closing, that the escrow officers sometimes want her to pay for a translator because they think that she's harming the consumer instead of helping them, which that's something that I'm going to figure out in your state and whatever title company that is, or maybe we'll get that.
It's national.
It's nationally? All right, we're going to make some noise about that. Nicole, take some notes, because as a loan officer, as a licensed professional, you should be able to explain that at the closing. They already gave the AMD. They already did all of this stuff, that they should be able to do that.
We're giving ideas to our title companies.
And then another myth that we have is that the Hispanic population is concentrated in a few states. We used to be, but we are moving all over the United States, and a couple of things are driving that. One, the workforce. For example, Hispanics have been here in Detroit for the last 100 years, and it's because of the auto industry. Jobs that moved us over here wasn't because we had a mercado. We only had one. We only had one place to get tacos. Now we have a couple options, but initially we didn't. It wasn't because we knew family members or people. It was because they had jobs, and then housing was affordable. So looking at this graph, let's pay attention to the states that Hispanics are migrating into. And I want to challenge you. Are you licensed in more than one state? And if you're not licensed in more than one state, did you refer out to another broker? Imagine moving to Ohio, for example. No one wants to live in Ohio. Michigan and Ohio don't like each other. So I'm going to pick on them. But 25.5 thousand Hispanics moved to Ohio. And I can only think of two originators. One's in retail, the other one's in wholesale. But how many of us could have bridged that network to say, hey, I'm not licensed in that state. I'm going to go get licensed because 25,000 people did. So if in a tough market, it makes sense for me to at least pull 1 or 2 transactions. But doubling up on that, as a familia, you could have referred that business out to someone that you trusted, that you backed up and you benefited. So the main message that I want to give to everybody, not only in this room, not only in Washington and lenders, Hispanics and brokers thrive in the wholesale channel, and it's pretty clear. If all of these slides didn't boil it down, let's dive a little bit deeper. Man, that's small. So this acronym is clear. Hispanics are primarily cash-based financing, meaning we don't trust banks. A lot of banks haven't done really good by consumers. And so there's a lot of hesitation, there's a lot of fear that's associated with it. So we have to navigate through that. We have to coach them up. We have to tell them, hey, that mattress money isn't good. You have to season that in a bank for 60 days. And a lot of times they don't understand. They're like, what? This is like cash is king. But unfortunately in the lending process, it's not. We don't want that. We want to see it seasoned in a bank. And having to articulate that and explain that to Hispanic and minority groups sometimes takes a little challenge. Language barrier. The wholesale channel still doesn't have Spanish loan docs, which we're fighting for, but that explanation of what things are. I was in the car with someone and they were talking about the '08 crash and how there was balloon payments. And there were other things that were associated that a lot of Hispanics had no idea about. Education for first-time home buyers. That's another thing that's very important. We have to educate and break that mold, not only for their first transaction, but refinances is something that we just don't like as a community. We're scared of it. We feel like we're going to start over. When we have flex term, when we can, instead of doing another 30-year fix, we can do a 15-year fixed. But on top of that, we can teach them, hey, that refinance, instead of paying 22% interest rate on those credit cards, how about let's consolidate that? How about we give you a little bit more breathing room? This is your biggest asset and you are not starting over. The United States is such an amazing country where debt is actually good. Matt, a billionaire, I don't know how much he has in his name, but most CEOs don't even have anything in their name. And we as Hispanics, we want to be so proud and have something in our name, but we have to break that mold and educate them that in this country, in este país, the things are a little bit different. Taxes. We're proud to pay taxes, but I had to tell my dad, hey, it makes sense for you to start donating more to the church or doing different things so that your income bracket changes. These are ways that we can educate our people. We don't think to do these things because we're just proud to be in this country and we're proud to contribute. But if we educated our people a little bit more, we'd make a difference. And then affordability. There are so many different down payment assistance programs and different things out there. Another dream of mine with home is to have our own down payment assistance program. We're a long ways out. That's probably more like 5 years down the line. But that's what I want to do and that's what I want to create, and that's the power of the wholesale channel. And then the last one is relationships and trust. In the wholesale channel, you are not only doing one transaction, you are financially advising them on that second, that third transaction. On also, hey, how do we take that home and then we maybe buy an investment property? How do we take your investment property and then we what's it called? Primary conversion, Fannie Mae term. We do primary conversion and we use that rent to offset your payment and then you purchase another home. Maybe your family grew. Maybe you moved to Ohio. How about we turn that California home into an investment property? Or maybe you cash out. I don't know what those are, but that's the beautiful part about the wholesale channel. These big banks, they have quotas every single month. And I'm not knocking down all the big banks, but I understand it because I lived it and I saw it. I was a retail loan officer, so I know that you have to have 20 closings in a month. If not, you're out. So they don't take the time to answer all of the questions that our community might have. And that's the difference that the wholesale channel makes. I want to announce an award that we're going to start doing, a part of home. So there is a lot of awards out there, and some awards you have to be Hispanic to win. But I really wanted to highlight the fact that you don't have to be Hispanic. Your corazón just has to be Hispanic. You have to have a passion for our community. And there is this quote by Hermes. Everyone's like, why Hermes? First of all, Hermes because it's an H, because I love the H. H stands for home. But in addition to that, I wanted to give a fashion statement that someone can wear. I didn't want another trophy. Everyone has enough trophies. I don't even look at mine. But I didn't want another trophy on a wall that's just going to collect dust. I wanted something that someone could actually wear. So not only H because for home, but also Hermes, the iconic orange, it was actually developed on accident. During World War II, their color used to be cream, but during World War II, the only color that was available in cardboard was orange. No one wanted that color orange, like our lanyard. And they decided to pick that orange, and suddenly that's a trend, and everyone loves that orange and loves that orange box. So I thought to myself, you know what, that reminds me of my abuelita. Whatever scraps, whatever things that we had, she didn't care. She took that and she'd make a caldito, and she'd make something out of it. So I thought, you know what, not only the H for home, but also the story behind the orange really resonates with me. And then it's a family company. It's been in their family for 6 generations, so familia means everything to us. So for those 3 reasons, I decided to kind of encompass this. Plus it looks really good as a belt. And in studying about a quote to put with this award, Alex Dumas, who is the current CEO, 6th generation, his great uncle was one of the founders. He said, we have success and sometimes we have failures. And sometimes if I see no failure, I wonder if we didn't push it enough. So as an organization, as loan officers, we're going to fail. That's okay. That's a part of life. But I'm asking you not to be scared about that failure and to keep pushing. So for this year's 2025 Heritage Award winners, I'm giving it to 2 people. 1 person is in this room, and 1 person we already presented it to that unfortunately couldn't be in this room. And that's Matt Ispia, the president and CEO of UWM, and then also Chuck LaFleur. Can you come up and get your award? So Chuck leads one of the nation's largest teams for Hispanic loan officers. He's also married to a Latina.
Sí.
But he speaks Spanish.
Sí.
But also he mentors people and gives in a way that I've never seen before. We were at dinner, and he was still conversing with the team and doing everything, but instead of being focused on us, he was texting different loan officers that were interested and wanted more mentorship and wanted to grow. So in terms of just like everything that you do for the wholesale channel, for the broker community, for your loan officers, I want to thank you for your dedication to the Hispanic community by giving you this.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Awesome. This is awesome. It's 20 years in the business. So to be honest, most those guys that don't know me, I was mostly a lone wolf most of my career. Then it was in 2022 that we really started to focus on growth in the area which we're in. We're in Chula Vista, California, which is in the southern part of San Diego. And I would say probably we got 5 people on our team that don't speak Spanish. I mean, it's a predominantly Hispanic community, right? And it's, Gio and I have worked together like our whole careers, and we grew up in that. That was our stomping grounds. And we feel it's our responsibility to mentor young loan officers coming up so they can do a great job for the community that's out there, because we see a lot of people that just don't know what they're doing. And it's not, it blows me away how you could, if I want to be an electrician or a builder, I'd have to go like through years of training and be in mentorship and all that stuff and work as an apprentice before I could handle anything, you know. And the lending industry is just not like that. So Gio is actually one of our mentors in our team, and we do a lot of mentorship. We have like 4 other mentors, and education of our loan officers is highly, highly important so we can serve our community and help our agents. So thank you. I really appreciate it. This is
absolutely. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Lost my clicker there. Sorry, I got a little emotional with that one.
Doing great, Rob.
Before I close it out, I wanted to open it up for some questions. Hispanics and minority groups excel in sports. And I wanted to ask why. So, anyone raises their hand, why do you think Hispanics or minority groups excel in sports?
They don't give up.
That's a good one. They don't give up. Competitive.
I would say vision.
Vision. Anybody else?
They do it for their parents to help their parents out.
They do it for their parents to help their parents out. I like that. Anybody else?
We have more to lose.
We have more what?
We have more to lose.
We have more to lose.
Survival.
Survival.
The unfair advantage of adversity and being an immigrant.
Unfair advantage of adversity and being an immigrant, even though you didn't need a mic. Anybody else? So Bishop T.D. Jakes, in one of his books called Disruptive Thinking, I've been listening to him since I was 12 years old. So behind him and Matt Ishbia, there's a lot going on up here of how to disrupt things. But he articulated in a way that I never heard before. And he said, Hispanic and minority groups excel in sports for two things. Because the floor is flat and the rules are clear. In corporate America, in politics, in things around us, it's not clear. The job opportunity doesn't go to the hardest working person. It sometimes go to whoever's related to that person, or whoever headed in or goes to lunch with them, or whoever they like. So the floor isn't flat. So the opportunity isn't equal. And the rules aren't clearly defined because it's not the person that is the hardest worker that gets that opportunity. It's that person that kisses whoever's butt, or whoever, whatever it is. I don't want to just throw it into a corporate or a work environment thing, but when he said that, that really spoke to me, because I want to tie that into lending. A lot of times the floor isn't flat. All of these lenders, to Jay's point, are not created equal. They all have different boxes. They all have different people that have a different narrative of what their risk portfolio thinks and looks like. And the rules aren't clear. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac selling guide is boring. Primary conversion, like how does that equally explain that you can use rental income to offset the terms that they use sometimes don't articulate it and aren't explained the way that they should be. And when I heard this story, it made me emotional, but this is my why. This is why home is here, because I want to ensure that that floor is flat, where everyone has an equal opportunity to obtain a home. And I want those rules to be clear, where we clearly know what lenders have an appetite for certain products and different down payment assistance programs and what they want in the secondary market. I'm not telling them not to do it. I'm not saying, hey, everyone go after the same thing. But I want to clearly explain that to our loan officers so that we can educate and make an impact to our community. So in closing out, if you didn't take anything away from my stories and my speech, I want to leave you with these 4 bullet points. Don't let fear paralyze you. Don't. I left UWM. I love this company, as you could tell. I give a tour even when I'm not here. And when I left to go launch Home, that was something that was nerve-wracking. And my family wasn't a fan. They were like, what? You're going to leave your W-2 job to go do a nonprofit? Like, that doesn't make sense. And all my friends and even colleagues, they were like, what? Go open up your broker shop. Go be a licensed originator. That doesn't make sense. Like, why would you go do that? There's so much money to be made in this industry. Why would you go and head down this path? And I'm here to tell you, don't let fear paralyze you. Whatever dreams you had as a little kid, whatever God instilled in your heart, believe in yourself, make that impact, and don't be scared. And also encourage others not to be paralyzed. Because as a community, we don't speak about our emotions enough. Partially to blame from our abuelita that told us not to feel that way. But we don't talk about it. It's okay to feel that emotion, but it's not okay to be stuck. It's not okay to be paralyzed and rent a home for 20, 30, 50 years. One of my mom's childhood best friends, she's 75 years old. She is just now purchasing her home. And the only reason why she's purchasing a home was because her landlord said, hey, I want to sell my home. Would you be interested in purchasing it? And then I said, Mom, what lender is it with? And she goes, I don't know. It's with some underwriter. And I'm like, Mom, that's the whole reason why I'm starting this. Ask her what lender it's with so that we can shop around and just make sure that she knows what she's getting into. And we make sure she has the best products. But that's what I'm talking about. And she's 75 years old. And she said that the fear that she felt, she was so scared, but so happy because a home means so much to us as a community. It just means something different. Expand your box. Get licensed in more states. Dream the impossible. If you want to build a team, leading people is not easy. But if you want to build a team, if you want to have licensed originators underneath you, if you want to be like Chuck and you want to mentor, you want to grow, find your people. Go out and do it, whatever it is. Don't keep yourself in a little tiny box and keep growing. Make an impact. The things that you can do if you just say yes. I'm not telling you to go and be Matt Ispia. I'm not telling you to be me. I'm telling you, you do you. Do what God put in your heart, and He will meet you halfway, and He will give the resources and lead you into areas and arenas and rooms that you could never imagine in, just like Isis and I. And lastly, help yourself by helping others. This is the time, this is the opportunity to make a difference, and I'm so excited to do it with each and every one of you. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And that's it. The best time was yesterday, and the right time is now to make a difference. Here's a QR code to join for home. We have some exciting stuff that we're going to be sharing in the next coming weeks. And thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. Before I end, any questions? I know I said conversation, and I kind of like, the nerves took over and I steamrolled. Any questions? Yeah.
Is UWM doing anything to target more Hispanic communities? I know, I mean, I do a lot of loans for Hispanic communities.
Yeah.
I do a lot of loans with UWM, and they are flexible, and they have done loans that nobody else can do for my clients. But are they doing anything to partner with you to target more?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Just when we met Matt to give him his award, he was like, Rogelio, whatever you need. First of all, he was emotional. He was like, wow, this is expensive. And I was like, hey, you deserve it. Thank you for mentoring me. Thank you for showing me. But absolutely. First of all, we met with the head of secondary and we hinted ITIN. There's a couple more meetings that we're going to have. So I'm pushing for that. Even though Matt said no more products, we're pushing for it. Well, she's pushing for it. Yeah, she can go and head that route. But yes. And then I was walking the hallway, and then the executive vice president, he's like, Rogelio, how many people do you have out here? And I said, we have about 54 people out here. He was like, wow, that's amazing. When's the next one? Let's do it again. Let's keep it going. Let's keep people, let's keep educating the community that Hispanics are here, that Hispanics are out here, and that we can all do it together. So to answer your question, absolutely. I'm just scratching the surface. I'm not trying to leverage and just have everything be UWM, because I want all 150 different banks and lenders. Like, I want all of it. I don't just want one lender. I want all of them. So I'm trying to leverage that and play chess a little bit for the advantage of our community. But yes, absolutely. Any other questions? Yes.
I'm sorry if I'm naive, but this is my first introduction to Home. So how is it that Home can help us loan officers? Like, what tools are available through that?
Absolutely. Great question. So we're building a learning management platform. So we're going to have multiple loan officers that are sharing on ways to get business, on things that made an impact to them. But then we're also doing the research with all 150 different banks and credit unions so that we can give that in a learning management system, but also have a chat GPT so you could search for it on the go. And we're doing that completely free as a part of your Home membership. So we're still in the infancy stages. Home has just been around for a year, but the things that we're building with the leadership team is pretty, and to be honest, it's not just me. It's everyone that's like, hey, I love chat GPT. How can we use this with Home? I'll program it and I'll give it to Home for free. And it's like, okay, all right, let's do it. And then I have to pair him with a developer and then pair him with someone that builds the LMS. So it's a whole community that we're looking to build, but that's how we plan on doing it, by that education factor. So you can just ask ChatGPT on your phone. It's like it's still Chat OpenAI, but it's a feature within OpenAI that you can have. And the best part is, because we're a nonprofit, we're not regulated to those guidelines. So if there are typos or things are incorrect, it's not like the CFPB doesn't exist anymore, but it's not like they can come after us or fine us. And we can just promote all of the lenders and give that knowledge as best as possible. Because one of the learning curves that I've seen when we recruit from retail over to wholesale, they get overwhelmed. There's 150 different banks, and they're like, okay, who's good at what? And I want to simplify that and refine that so that we know who to send our loans to for I-10, for down payment assistance programs, who does conventional grade, who does FHA, who does the Fannie Mae renovation loan. Like there's different lenders that do particular things that we just don't have the time to go and call every account executive and find out. So if I can easily give that information out there to you guys, so that's the first aspect. And then two, if you want to build a team, post on our career page. If you need a processor, you heard Matt, there might be a refi boom. If you need to scale up quickly, let's post some ads and let's get you some really good people that want to roll up their sleeves and work. And that's just to start. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you. Is Jim in the room? I don't think he's in the room. Oh, no, yeah, he is.
Oh, what, me?
Yes.
I was looking for Jim.
Is your name not Jim?
No, it's Phil.
Phil. Wow.
It's all right.
Jeez. Sorry, and you have a name tag.
That's all good. All right.